The Tony Hawk's franchise is one of the most dear that we hold in our hearts as gamers, as we've grown up over the last 25 or so years. And the soundtracks included in them enhanced our experiences playing the games, and even helped craft our musical tastes. My name's OneHip, and thanks for clicking on this video. In these kinds of videos, you get to see my face. If you are new to the channel, welcome, and if you have watched some of my stuff before in the past, thank you so much for being here again. It's much appreciated. Channel's going really strong. The last 2 videos have gained tons of views, and I've got a lot of new subscribers as well. So yeah, feels good, and I'm glad that my videos are resonating with you. Thank you so much. So over the last few weeks, I did put up some polls on my YouTube channel, asking you folks to give me your favorite songs from the Tony Hawk series. We have done a Tony Hawk's Levels video, which was ranked, but I felt like there weren't enough options for me to do to polls. I could only add 4 at a time, which I found a bit annoying. So for the songs list today, they're going to be unranked. I didn't do any polls. I simply asked you folks just to give me your favorite songs from the series, and quite a few of you got back to me about that, which is really, really cool. Thanks for those who were involved. I'll also add a few tracks that I like as well, but I won't go in depth with them like the ones you voted for. I'll just mention them. Like I said, there's no rankings or polls this time round, and I'll mention the songs in order of the game's release. So we'll start with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1. And if you want to watch any or all of my Tony Hawk retrospectives on this channel, I do have a playlist that's included in the description, and I have recently done a review of Pro Skater 3 and 4, which just dropped. If you want to watch that, I'll leave an end card. Also, the bulk of the songs that I was given were mostly for games between Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 and Tony Hawk's American Wasteland. So for those games as well as Pro Skater 1, I will do separate sections for them. But for any games after American Wasteland, I'll just do them all in one hit, as I didn't get as many for the other games. But anyway, you voted for them, here they are, and here are some other ones that I liked as well. Let's go. With the Pro Skater 1 soundtrack, I didn't get as many votes, and there was only one song from the original game that was mentioned. There is one from the remaster that wasn't in the original game, so I'll talk about that one later. And the only song from Pro Skater 1 that was mentioned from you folks was Goldfinger with Superman. The track is synonymous with the first game, and it is definitely one of the most iconic tracks in the series. It's very surprising that this was the only one from Pro Skater 1 that you folks mentioned. There are some other good ones on here as well that I'll mention a bit later. Goldfinger, obviously a ska punk band from the late 90s to early 2000s, played a huge part in that scene, and they've had a great career. Really loved jamming to this one in the original game as well as the remaster as well. Superman was also featured in Rock Band 4 as DLC, and another song of theirs would end up in Pro Skater 4, which I'll talk about later. But yeah, very good song, and probably the signature track to Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1. Now, with some songs I like from Pro Skater 1 that I'll mention here, a couple of them I will need to bleep a couple of the words due to the names of the bands. So yeah, you'll hear a couple of bleeps as I'm saying them. So special mentions for Pro Skater 1. Dead Kennedys with Police Truck, All Tendencies, Psycho Vision, Speed Dealer, Screamer, Nothing to Me, an absolute baller of a track that really knocked my socks off when I heard it for the first time when I was a kid, and the Machines with New Girl. Moving on to Pro Skater 2, considered probably the best soundtrack in the entire series, and I would probably have to agree. Iconic, some big bands at the time in this one as well, lots of deep cuts, underground kind of stuff as well. A nice mix of hip-hop, rock, punk, all the good stuff that defined Tony Hawk soundtracks. So for Pro Skater 2, the ones that you voted for, Rage Against the Machine, Guerrilla Radio. Pretty much almost everyone's introduction to the band, one of their best songs, and a very provocative one, just like many of their others as well. The music video itself is provocative, but it is a statement on many issues in the world, which is still being faced by people today. And this one really goes hard. I remember when I played the hangar for the first time in Pro Skater 2, the original game, and Guerrilla Radio came on, and yeah, it knocked my socks off as well. I did listen to Rage Against the Machine, and I do enjoy their stuff, especially their older stuff, and I got to listen to their older albums as well. So yeah, this is a nice gateway track to the band. A very popular one you folks picked as well, Millencolin, No Cigar. Swedes do music very well, as you'll see later. Once again, another likely intro to the band for many. I don't believe this was a single off their album. I think it was just an album track. I like how in the Tony Hawk's games, a lot of songs included throughout the games were album tracks rather than singles, which is pretty cool. Kind of gives the band or the artist more exposure. And again, just kind of like a gateway kind of song to get people in to listen to their albums and their older stuff as well. And even their newer stuff later on, which is really cool. This is one of my favorite songs in the game. game, this one really goes hard as well. Yeah, wonderful punk song, and yeah, fits Tony Hawk really well. Definitely an essential track for this game. And Public Enemy and Anthrax, Bring the Noise. By the 80s, rap and hard rock merged together, and it was a pretty big deal at the time of popular music. I mean, you had Aerosmith and Run DMC with Walk This Way, and a few others that I can't really think of at the moment. But Public Enemy and Anthrax, Bring the Noise, yeah, nice banging track. And while there were some nice hip-hop numbers here, having that kind of rap rock mash in Pro Skater 2 was very interesting. And this song was sampled from the original Public Enemy recording of the same name. And to promote the track, both groups would later tour together. And this track was actually the end song for each of their gigs. And like the other two that were voted on by you folks, definitely an essential track for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. And it also features in many other games, including the Pro Skater HD version, of course, Die Hard Trilogy, WWE SmackDown vs. Raw, and Rock Band 4, which was DLC. Which, like Superman by Goldfinger, many games were DLC on Rock Band 4, which I'll mention a bit later as well. So yeah, Pro Skater 2, best soundtrack in the series, and yeah, very iconic. Some songs I also like from Pro Skater 2, Lagwagon, May 16, Fu Manchu, Evil Eye, pretty cool stoner rock kind of stuff, and Swinging Utters, 5 Lessons Learned. Pro Skater 3, what's on the thumbnail, one of the bands, CKY, 96 Quiet Bitter Beings. Definitely one of the best soundtracks for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, and this track here, someone commented on my channel that this is like the unofficial anthem for Pro Skater 3. And I would probably tend to agree. CKY were an alt-rock / stoner band, and it featured Bam Margera's brother Jess, who played on drums. How the band came about is Jess and Darren Miller met in high school, and they ended up forming the band with some other people a couple of years later. And thankfully, this game did make it into the remake. I don't know what I would have felt if this game wasn't in there. This track has a nice catchy melody, and I'm sure many of you sing the lyrics as you're skating around to this track. If I had to pick a top 10 fan favorite out of all the Tony Hawk games, this game would definitely be in here, probably even the top 5. It's one that's loved by Tony Hawk fans, and it's a really good song. Motorhead, Ace of Spades, balls to the wall hard rock / metal, and the opening track of the original game as well as the remake. Rolling Stone named this track as the 442nd best song of all time out of 500, and number 3 in their 100 greatest heavy metal songs list, which is a pretty big accolade. This one has appeared in lots of video games, including but not limited to Guitar Hero, COD Black Ops 3, and Back 4 Blood. And also, rest in peace, Lemmy. Rock on wherever you are, man. Body Jar, not the same. These guys are Aussie punk royalty. They were a staple band in the early 2000s on Australian radio station Triple J, and Not the Same was the one that introduced the band to the world. Just like 96 Quiet Bitter Beings, this is also a fan favourite. This one, once again, is also in the remake, and I'm glad they added this one in. It is pivotal, I think, to the Pro Skater 3 soundtrack, and I don't think it would quite hit the same if the song wasn't on there this time round. And Adolescence, Amoeba. An earlier punk song. I didn't realize this was released so early. I thought it was maybe like mid to late 80s, but this song was released in 1981. It is another classic, and it was also featured in other video games like GTA 5 and Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War back in 2020. Some other songs that I like from Pro Skater 3, Ramones, Blitzkrieg Bop, and Exhibit with Paparazzi off his debut album. Pro Skater 3 soundtrack is really awesome, and there's also lots of good ones in there that were mentioned. Overall, an excellent soundtrack, just like Pro Skater 2. Pro Skater 4's soundtrack, while still very memorable, not as memorable as the other games that I mentioned, but still lots of bangers in here. Goldfinger makes their second appearance in this video with the song Spokesman. I find it an absolute shame that this wasn't included in the 3 and 4 remake. This is one of the best tracks in Pro Skater 4. I did mention this in my Pro Skater 4 retrospective. And for a lot of people who mentioned in the comments when voting on these ones, they reckon that Spokesman is better than Superman, and yeah, I think I would agree actually. I know Superman is more anthemic and it was very pivotal for the Pro Skater 1 soundtrack, but Spokesman for Pro Skater 4 is very pivotal as well, in my opinion. And likely a better song, yeah. And yeah, just like many other punk songs in the games, fits very well into the series, so good pick. A hip-hop number this time, NWA, Express Yourself. Once again, not in the 3 and 4 remake, an absolute shame. Interestingly, this is one of the only tracks in the group's catalogue that has no profanity. I don't know if it's the only one or if it's one of the few, but yeah, there's just no profanity, no references to violence either. Very off-brand for NWA. The group would later split, and many of them would have a huge influence in bringing hip-hop to the masses in the 90s. In particular, Dr. Dre and Ice Cube. And rest in peace, Eazy-E. And the main song from Pro Skater 4, AC/DC TNT, the opening track in the game just like Ace of Spades. And an interesting one, I like how in Pro Skater 4 they introduced more kind of hard rock kind of bands, particularly older ones. We would see others later in other games as well, kind of like, 70s, 80s, even 60s bands and groups and singers as well. Pro Skater 4's soundtrack became a bit more eclectic. This is definitely one of their best songs. The late Bon Scott really turns it up here with his vocals. Wonderful track. And also not in the remake as well, which I can sense a pattern here considering most of the 3 and 4 songs weren't in the remake, which is very disappointing, but it is what it is. Some other songs I like from Pro Skater 4, Agent Orange, Bloodstains, A Veil, simple song, and something which is actually in the remake, and a song that I originally didn't really think too much of, but since playing the remake I have heard it many times and it's actually kind of grown on me. Gangstar, Mass Appeal, very good hip hop track. Love the sampling in that one. My favorite Tony Hawk's game now, Tony Hawk's Underground. A lot of you love the soundtrack to Underground, and listening back to it, I like it as well. Lots of hard rock here, lots of metal, punk, some hip-hop as well. Basically all the good stuff that you want in a Tony Hawk soundtrack. And Underground, a very underrated one too. Doesn't really get mentioned much compared to some other games in the series, but some really good ones here. Starting off with the Underground list that you folks voted for. Refused with New Noise. This is the track that plays when you retrieve the Hawaii tape off Eric Sparrow after you either beat him or you punch him in the face, depending on how many times you've played the game. It's hardcore punk with a lot of moving parts and changes to the song. Lots of tempo changes, rhythm changes, I think some key changes as well. Lots of changes, lots of moving parts. Bit unusual for punk. The album this song comes from is called The Shape of Punk to Come, and the band would break up a few months after the album was released, which is a bit of a shame, but at least this song as well as a few of their others kind of live on, which is cool. Also, another band from Sweden. Something about that nation that makes really great music. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the fresh air, the fresh water, fresh food. I have no idea. If you're from Sweden, let me know why your band's so good. Strike Anywhere with Refusal. This is a punk band based out of Richmond, Virginia. This track released in 2001. A cool punk song that fits the vibe of the series perfectly, much like others I've mentioned on here before. Some fast tempos, strong vocals, and really cool punk riffs. The band would appear 2 more times in the series, in Tony Hawk's American Wasteland with Question the Answer, and in Tony Hawk's Downhill Jam with The Promise. Very interesting one that was picked by a few of you, so thanks for bringing that one on. I really like that song. Not one I really paid attention to, but I really like it now you mentioned it. Alkaline Trio, Armageddon. From their 3rd studio album From Here to Infirmary. Private Eye is probably one of their most successful songs from the album, but I like this one as well, and I'm glad they included it. It's a banging punk number and very synonymous with the band at the time. Nice big punk riffs and cool melodies and all that good stuff you want. Great pick once again. Nas, The World Is Yours. I mentioned this in my Underground retrospective as one of my standout tracks in the game. Probably one of the best hip-hop tracks in the series. And the album that it's included on, 1994's Illmatic, is one of the greatest hip-hop albums ever made. It's made tons of lists. It's had several accolades when it was released and over the years as well when there's been retrospectives done on an album. Lots of love for it, and Nas is a brilliant storyteller. The World Is Yours also appears in another video game, NBA 2K13. Yeah, great addition. And a surprising one that I didn't think would make it and you guys would mention it, but Transplants with California Babylon. It's a deep cut that vibed with quite a few of you, and I like how it has that kind of late 90s, early 2000s hip-hop infused alt-rock vibe. Once again, suits the game really well and kind of reminded me of bands like Cake, and they're similar kind of sounding bands based off this song as well. I think Travis Barker was in Transplants. Correct me if I'm wrong. He's been in so much stuff, it's probably hard just to keep count. But yeah, I think he was in it. But yeah, one that I put up on Spotify, and I had heard it in Underground, but I never, once again, the Underground soundtrack is really underrated. Never really paid too much attention to it. But yeah, you guys have really opened my eyes to how good it actually is, and listening to it after the retrospective has helped a lot as well. What a great selection of songs from Underground you folks picked. Thank you. Brilliant. Some other songs that I like from Underground. Kiss. Nah, just kidding. Queens of the Stone Age, You Think I Ain't Worth a Dollar, but I Feel Like a Millionaire. No, album track off Songs for the Deaf, their really famous album from 2002. I mean, they could have probably included any of their other ones, but this one is a pretty good bop. And Hot Water Music, Remedy. Tony Hawk's Underground 2, one of the best soundtracks in the series, and a lot of you love it from what you've told me as well. Probably the most eclectic soundtrack. I mean, there's not just punk, hip-hop, and hard rock kind of stuff. There's also country, there's also some swing, jazz, Very interesting the way they went about it. So some songs from the game that you liked: Jimmy Eat World, Pain. Quite a few of you loved this one, and I think it was probably one of the most popular ones that you folks suggested. Many of you picked this one. This track was released in 2004 off their album Futures, and it became their second #1 hit on the Billboard Modern Rock charts. It also appears in Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition, Guitar Hero Van Halen, and Rock Band as DLC. There you go. I could have sworn I've heard this track in other games, but I looked on the wiki and there were no other video games mentioned. Maybe there were some other Jimmy Eat World songs that I was thinking of. But yeah, it just feels like I've heard this in way more stuff. Definitely one of Jimmy Eat World's signature songs and one of their most popular ones, for sure. Faith No More, Midlife Crisis. Released in 1992 off their Angel Dust album, the song is described as an alternative metal song incorporating progressive rock and hip-hop elements. And lead singer Mike Patton has stated that the song is actually not about having a midlife crisis. So there you go. Lots of other themes in the song other than that. The track also appears in GTA San Andreas and Rock Band 3. Rock Band, stop stealing songs from Tony Hawk. Please. Get your own stuff. I do like the studio version of this song, but I think the best version was when they played the track live on Leno back in the 90s. I don't know what year it is, but you can look up Midlife Crisis live on YouTube and find it. That is probably the best rendition. Mike Patton really goes to town, and it really showcases his vocals and how wonderful he is. Frank Sinatra, That's Life. One of the unusual picks in the game and the second oldest track in this video behind another Underground 2 song. That wasn't voted on, but it was one that I liked that I'll mention very soon. Like many of Frank's famous hits, it was originally a song recorded by someone else. That's Life was recorded originally in 1963 by Marion Montgomery. Frank's version released in 1966 off the album of the same name, and this would become the most famous version of the song. I do enjoy Frank Sinatra. I don't listen to him too often, but when I do, I feel that That's Life is a good song of his, probably not his best, but it is definitely one of his most famous ones, and quite a surprise that this was featured in Underground 2. Some other songs I like from the game: Johnny Cash, Ring of Fire, the oldest track in the video, released in 1963, so 3 years earlier than That's Life, Rancid, Fall Back Down, and Dead Boys, Sonic Reducer. And a cover of the song by Save the Day would turn up in American Wasteland, which we're going to talk about right now. American Wasteland soundtrack, very LA focused of course, because the game is set in LA, lots of California bands, lots of covers of older bands here as well. And a soundtrack, while not really revered like other titles, is still reasonably solid for what it is, and I quite enjoy it. Obviously the main one from American Wasteland, probably one of the most mainstream songs from the entire Tony Hawk series, Green Day with Holiday, the song that plays when you win the Am Jam at the Van Skate Park, and it's one that we bopped to in that game. The album that it comes off, American Idiot, reached #1 on the Billboard 200 in 2004, and the album itself has sold over 23 million copies worldwide. It's also been the inspiration for a short film and also a Broadway theatre production as well. Really interesting. So this is probably Green Day's most popular album ever, and while they were pretty much mainstream since the mid-90s, this is the one that really propelled them to mass stardom. This was the point where they were playing in stadiums. And an underrated song, and one that I did notice in American Wasteland, but I had no idea who the artist and the track were, but one of you said that this is one of the most underrated tracks ever in Tony Hawk, and it's a good one. Oingo Boingo, What Do You Want to Be? Such an underrated song, definitely, and I love it. It's new wavy, it's got the horns, it's got the keys. This track was released in '83, so kind of like the start of new wave kind of music as well. It does have that Devo-esque kind of vibe to it. I love it. I think it's really, really great, and what an excellent pickup. And I agree, it is extremely underrated, and it's quite a bop, and I really enjoy it. So thank you to those who picked that one. Scissor Sisters, Filthy Gorgeous. Another mainstream track. It was pretty popular at the time of release. It's electro-pop rock from this American band. Reached #1 in the UK dance chart and #5 on the main chart in that country as well, and it did chart in other countries too. The full-length music video is pretty controversial. I'm showing you some snippets now, but there's probably some stuff that I might need to censor. I'm not sure. If it hasn't been done already, I might need to do it. So yeah, it's quite a raunchy music video, but yeah, fits the LA vibe really, really well. And another one you folks picked, Felix the House Cat, Everyone Is Someone in LA. Very cool sampling here. I really like Felix the House Cat. Lots of kind of indie rock and electro elements to this one as well. Very of its time, and it suits the sunny vibe of the game really well. And of course, it does feature LA in the song and in the title. It makes sense. Like I mentioned, it is an LA-based soundtrack in American Wasteland, or California at least. Many of the songs. Some cool ones you folks picked from American Wasteland. Thank you. Very cool. A couple other songs I liked from American Wasteland: Mastodon, Iron Tusk, and Emmanuel's cover of Search and Destroy, which was originally from Iggy and the Stooges. Now we've done the bulk of the games. Many other songs from Project 8 onwards, I didn't get too many votes for them, so I'm just going to condense all of the other songs into the one section. So from Tony Hawk's Project 8, J-Lib, The Red. A song that I heard when playing the game, but I didn't pay much attention to it. It consists of producers Jay Dilla and Madlib, and the album is actually considered a classic in underground hip-hop. It was really interesting to read the backstory on this one, so thank you to those who voted for it. Very underrated deep cut. From Tony Hawk's Proving Ground, The Clash, Clash City Rockers. Punk rock with references to reggae in the lyrics. This would later influence their sound in future tracks. The Clash would feature in different games in the series as well, including White Riot, which is in Tony Hawk's Underground, as well as in other skateboarding games. Death or Glory would appear in Skate 2 and Skate It. From the 1 and 2 remaster, and the only one that wasn't in the original games on this list, A Tribe Called Quest, Can I Kick It? It's a wonderful addition and one of the most iconic hip-hop tracks ever made, and one of the best old new songs in the series, if that makes sense. This track samples Walk on the Wild Side by Lou Reed, and sampling has been a pretty big deal for hip-hop over many years, and this is sampling done really well. I'm glad this one made it. And from the new game, Tony Hawk's 3 and 4 Remastered, the Saint Cecilia Roller. I couldn't find much info on this band, but they are based in Costa Rica, which is interesting. Very sunny over there, I'd imagine. The verses to me sound like British indie rock bands in the 2000s, just has that kind of vibe. While the chorus kind of sounds like Soundgarden, very Chris Cornell style wailing in the chorus. A very cool song, and one that was only released, I think, earlier this year, so probably the latest track that's on this list. So there you go. And the final one that you folks voted on, from 2 games in the series, Tony Hawk's Downhill Jam and the 3 and 4 remaster, Lupe Fiasco, Kick Push. I'm very happy about this one. It's an excellent mid-2000s hip-hop number, and I'm glad it wasn't languishing in Downhill Jam, which wasn't really a popular game compared to others. I did mention in my review that I'm glad that this song is shining in the new game, and other people can be exposed to it. According to a commenter on my 3 and 4 review video, they consider it the quintessential skateboarding song, and I'd probably agree. It's basically about skateboarding. It's a love story about a misfit skateboarder who falls in love with another skateboarder, and this track was released in 2006. It was acclaimed when it was released. It was nominated in 2007 for the Grammy Award for Best Rap Solo Performance and Best Rap Song. The track also appears in NBA Live 07 and MLB The Show 25. And as part of THPS Fest earlier this year, Lupe actually performed this as well as other songs, which is great. So yeah, really glad this one was dug up from Downhill Jam and brought into a new audience for the 3 and 4 remake. And some other songs that I liked from other games in Tony Hawk: Damone, Out Here All Night from Tony Hawk's Downhill Jam, Eagles of Death Metal, Chase the Devil from Project 8, Nirvana with Breed from Proving Ground, Jurassic 5 with Radio, also from Proving Ground, and finally, another one from Proving Ground and in the 3 and 4 remake, Sex Pistols, Holidays in the Sun. Anyway, these are the songs you picked from Tony Hawk's that are the most loved, and some that I liked as well that weren't mentioned. Thank you so much for watching, it's really much appreciated. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you want to listen to any of the songs that I mentioned on here today, I did actually make a YouTube playlist, so there will be a link in the description. You'll be able to listen to all the songs mentioned here today. If you want to see a similar video for other skateboarding games or other franchises that I've done retrospectives on, including EA Skate and Burnout, even Need for Speed, let me know in the comments. I love doing these kinds of videos. Which songs on here do you like? Which songs on here don't you like? And which ones that weren't mentioned do you like? Let me know. You can also watch my Tony Hawk's retrospectives and reviews. A link for the playlist is in the description. And if you want to support the channel, I do have memberships on here as well as a Ko-fi page. But honestly, even you watching these videos helps me a lot. So thank you. My name's OneHip, and you have a good one. Bye.